Friday or on Saturday. We will have saved this meeting for posterity. I'll start with a few introductions. My name is Craig Newman. I am the Director of Programming at the JCC. I oversee most of our programs for kids, from our early childhood program, day camp and youth, sports, recreation, aquatics, and our overnight camp program. I'm going to introduce some of the staff who are here with us tonight and will be overseeing the program on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to try and do this a little fancy. We'll see if I can. I'm going to spotlight them when I introduce them. So first on the list here is Brad Chotner. Brad, or Chots, as he is known. Chots is our Director of Camping and Youth Services. And those of you from camp will know who he is. Next is Jess Bauer. Jess is our youth coordinator over at our Chesterfield facility in Fox, and runs the camp and runs our after-school program out there. Next is Connor Flood. Connor is Jess's counterpart, and he runs our before and after school program and vacation days, as does Jess, at our Creve Coeur facility. And last on this call, but not least, is Alex Langella. Alex works in our sports and recreation department and is very involved with our camp programs and our kids throughout the year. There are a couple of other staff people. I'm going to try and unspotlight. Cancel spotlight. Okay. It's fun with Zoom, all the things I've learned over the last several months. There are a couple of other staff persons who are full-time staff people at the J who are going to be helping with this program who aren't here today. Jess Sanders, who is our Director of Camp Operations, and Justin Haddad, who is also in our Sports and Rec department and works with Alex overseeing those programs. I'm going to be running the show today, but the staff that I introduced to you just now are going to be generally running the show on a day-to-day basis over the next 9 weeks. They, along with a series of part-time staff who we've hired to oversee the program, are going to be making sure that your kids are where and when they're supposed to be, and working on their schoolwork, and when they're not doing that, hopefully engaged in some other activities, but at all times safe and healthy. A little housekeeping here. If you have some questions along the way, I encourage you to put them in our chat. Chots, I'll ask you to monitor the chat, and so if you want to chat to Chots directly or to everyone, we will answer some questions along the way. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to share with you that hopefully will answer most of those questions from the get-go. So I am going to begin that now. So welcome, Club All Day at the J. This is a program that we created relatively quickly in order to help you all with your children's online learning. The J's philosophy is generally, I like to say, when school is out, the J is in. So whether that's over summer or winter, spring breaks, parent-teacher conferences, before and after school, even snow days, we do what we can to provide not just childcare, but really engaging, enriching activities for kids when they're not in school. So it seemed only natural for us to create this program when it became apparent that kids were at least are not going to be physically in school for at least for the first 9 weeks. So just a little bit of an overview. We've already done the welcome. We're going to go over some of our COVID-19 protocols, talk about carpool, and then those the three sort of really important things, what to bring, how the schedule is going to work, and some other important information. we'll be going over that as well. So let's start with our COVID-19 protocols. Either fortunately or unfortunately, I guess depending on how you look at it, the J has had a lot of experience being open to the public and for children during this pandemic. We originally closed down in the middle of March and then opened back up at the end of May, first with our early childhood program, then with our day camp program, and then with the entire center, at our workout facilities and swimming pools. And so we did a lot of preparation before those programs and before opening the J, and we've learned a lot since. And, you know, I think we have a lot of really good protocols in place to do our best to prevent kids from the spreading of this virus. We'll be doing cleaning on a daily basis. That is just a sort of extra cleaning. We have these I always forget the word. I apologize. They're like sort of atomizers that we can spray in the rooms that we use when we close for the hour in our fitness centers. Those will be used in the places where your kids are going to be learning as they leave every day. Speaking of the places where your kids are going to be learning, we're going to have some social distancing and working into cohorts and what parts of the facility. I'll get that in a little bit more detail in the next slide. Certainly hand washing and hand sanitizing is going to be an important feature. We will obviously have bathrooms there for the kids to use and hand sanitizer, but if you want to send your kids with hand sanitizer, that'll be important as well. Kids will definitely be washing hands and sanitizing throughout the day, certainly before they eat and after they eat, probably before they get back on the computer, a lot of times during the day. We are asking and requiring that all participants wear masks. All of our staff will be wearing masks. The guidelines recently revised by both the CDC as well as the American Academy of Pediatrics is that all kids 2 and over should wear masks if they're physically able to do so. And then most importantly is really keeping your children home if they're sick. And our staff will be staying home if they're sick. A little bit later in this presentation, I'm going to talk about the screening that we're going to do when kids and when staff come into the facility. And again, based on the guidance of both the CDC, the J also has a board, a safety committee with physicians and epidemiologists who have provided guidance on all of these sorts of things. The CDC is now recommending really for kids K through 12 not to do a symptom screening per se, which is to say not to ask questions of, is your child sick? Do they have a new loss of taste or smell? Do they have a sore throat, achy, all those sorts of things. And, you know, there's a lot of, I guess, thoughts about why they may have stopped asking that. My personal opinion is, aside from the fact that, you know, a lot of people who get the virus are asymptomatic, that it's, if somebody, not that any of you on this call would intend to deceive any of us here, but it's easy to answer no to those kinds of questions. It's easy to answer no to any kind of question. We will be taking temperatures for all the kids, and so that's one thing that we can see, and sort of is a somewhat impartial, so to speak, measurement of the virus. But I would just implore all of you and all of us, whether it's going to this program or anywhere out in the community, that if you're not feeling well or that if your children are not feeling well, please keep them at home. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about the group sizes and the rooms and the cohorts. We're going to be dividing the kids based on their age or their grade, really. There are 4 rooms in each of our facilities that we will be utilizing. In the Creve Coeur facility, for those of you familiar, there's a large auditorium, the Performing Arts Center, that subdivides into 3 spaces, and a meeting room, a couple of meeting rooms across the hall. And over in our Fox building in Chesterfield, there's also a conference center that subdivides into 3 separate spaces, and a meeting off of the lobby called the lobby meeting room. Each of those spaces have been sort of measured out so that kids will be at tables that are 8-foot tables with a child on each end. So they'll be 6 feet apart, and all the tables will be 6 feet apart. And based upon that layout in the room, our room sizes will range from anywhere between 8 and 24 kids. That doesn't mean that those 24 kids will be in a cohort together. So there'll be times when, whether it's kids who are eating or doing activities, if they have recess or breaks from their learning, where we might take them outside or take them down to the gymnasium, when those time periods allow themselves, we'll be breaking the kids up into small groups of between 8 and 12 kids. And those groups will be stable. So in this room of 24 kids, let's say, as an example, we'll divide those kids into 2 groups of 12, and they'll sort of be independent of one another. They'll eat lunch together, or they'll go to the gym together, that sort of a thing. And as I said, the social distancing, the tables will be 6 feet apart. I'm going to stop there for just 1 second and see, Chats, are there any questions that have come up that you?
Not yet.
Okay, great. So let me talk a little bit about our carpool procedures and the screening. So we're in the process of finalizing a contract with an app called Pick My Kid, which will, in essence, allow you, when you get to the J for the afternoon carpool. I know it's a little odd to start in the afternoon, but it will allow you to tell us when your child, when you are there to pick up your child, and we will bring him or her out to you. In the morning, we will conduct carpool sort of as I guess I would say, sort of just kind of a first come, first serve. We will be doing temperature checks outside. We will ask that you to complete an exposure screening that ultimately will be part of the Pick My Kid app, but in the beginning is going to be part of a Google Doc until we can get that Pick My Kid up and running. And then we'll come. We'll be wearing a mask. We ask that not only will the children be wearing masks, but that the driver or anybody else in the car be wearing masks, and we'll take a temperature, and presuming the temperature is under 100.4 degrees, we'll bring the kids into the building and start their day. The carpool routes, this is the Millstone campus drive. So you see Schutz Road here. This is, if I can orient myself. So north is to my right, to your right. And so you'll come in, and Lindbergh is sort of at the bottom of the screen there. So you'll come in to the entrance to the main campus, obviously follow this route. You'll go all the way to the end of this drive, and you'll come around. This is the entrance to the building right here, and this is where our staff will greet the kids, bring them in. Sort of the conference room is right here in the building. So it'll be a short walk to where they're going, and then you can proceed out. There's a traffic light here, and then be on your way. At the Fox building in Chesterfield, this is Baxter Road here. Down at the bottom of the screen is Wild Horse Creek Road. Up at the top would be sort of way down is Chesterfield Valley. So you'll come in off of Baxter Road. immediately turn right, go around the circle drive. This is where the staff will greet the kids. We'll probably bring them in. This is the conference room right here. And we'll bring the kids directly into the conference rooms. They won't even be going through the front door with the rest of the members. And then they'll come out here, and then you'll, if you want to come out this way and turn on to Baxter, you may. If you continue sort of going straight here, you'll get to, there's a little drive, I think it's called Santa Maria Drive, and there's a traffic signal there, whatever is most convenient for you. So what to bring? Obviously, as the kids are going to be doing online learning, maybe it's not obvious, which is why we put it on this list. Please make sure that they come with a laptop or tablet or Chromebook or whatever internet-enabled device that they are going to be using during the day. We're going to need the username and password for any websites that your children might need to get into. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Bring a charger, please. We will have power strips all throughout these spaces so that kids can have their devices charged when they need to. The headphones with a microphone is going to be really, really important. Imagine you're in a room with, 20 other kids who are all on different websites, and we're all on different Zoom calls. And the teacher may be calling on some kids to speak or answer questions, whatever, interact with them. There may be kids in small groups of learning. We'll sort of see how that goes. So it's going to be really important that your child come with a headphone and a microphone as well. Certainly bringing lunch, a water bottle. All of our drinking fountains have been disabled because of sort of our COVID protocols. There will be ways for kids to refill their water bottle during the day, but definitely they should for sure bring a water bottle because they won't be able to get drinks at a drinking fountain. I mentioned earlier wearing a mask. They might, depending on their age, some books, cards, or something to do during downtime. We will have some games as well. But sometimes your child may be the only child who has downtime at a particular, for a particular 15 or 20-minute time period. So they may not be able to sort of go to the area where we have games set up to play. So they might need to do something at their desk. Hand sanitizer is sort of optional, as is a sweatshirt or jacket. If your child, might get cold, or if it's cool when we go outside, that sort of a thing. So the schedule. So this is where things are going to get a little bit tricky. Because I think none of us really know exactly what this is going to look like. In general, our program is going to be a lot like school. At school, your child is sitting at a desk for most of the day, either getting instruction directly from their teacher or working on schoolwork. We anticipate this program being very similar to that. It's just that their teacher will be seen on a screen. We've tried, there's obviously, or maybe not obviously, there are children from a variety of different school districts who are attending this program, and they're all going to have slightly different schedules. One of the reasons why we group the kids by grade level is our belief that the younger kids, kindergartners, first graders especially, will probably not be on a screen, 6 hours a day. They're going to have a lot more downtime. And as it's available, when we have, a group of kids that we can take to a different area and sort of fill that downtime with games or playing in the gym or whatnot, we will certainly do that. The schedule this first week, I think we're all going to be sort of seeing how this works out, and when those times are going to be when we can take the whole group to do an activity, and when the times are going to be when your child may have a break and would sort of need to stay at their desk. We will be at those brain breaks. If there's a lot of the schools that have little short 10-15 minutes where our staff will lead games, charades or show and tell, Simon Says, that sort of a thing. They'll be doing lunch and recess, certainly. And then, as I said, we'll have some special activities and supplies, especially for the younger kids. I do see a number of questions coming in.
They're all schedule related.
Right. So I'm looking at Rachel's question first. How will the kids be managed with all of them being on different schedules? That is a great question, Rachel. And, I think we're going to have the ability to, as I said, to take kids into other areas of the building that will be close by. We really don't know what those schedules are yet, so it's hard to say that at 11 o'clock or 11:30, that the kindergartners will be doing this, that, or the other. This first week, to be honest with you, is going to be a lot of sort of playing it by ear, but we're going to do our best to make sure that when kids aren't engaged with learning, that they are engaged with some other activity and not just sitting at a computer. Brad asked, do we have breakdown by room of what school districts the kids are in? We do, and certainly I can share that with you. I will say probably half of the kids who are in our program come from Parkway. There's another large group of kids from Ladue, and some from various other school districts, Clayton, Rockwood, Kirkwood, et cetera, et cetera. Julie, thank you for offering this same schedule. And I know, I have a child who is at Parkway myself, and, they have all sort of issued schedules, but to me, they're all, the way I read them, they're all sort of sample schedules. I really don't anticipate that kids are going to be, as they're calling it now, sort of learning synchronously for 6 hours. So if there's a time that says 9 to 11, what I've seen is that some of those schedules say that it's going to be a mixture of small group learnings, instruction from the teacher, asynchronous. So I think it's going to really be sort of a playing it by ear this first week. So Rachel, you said you have your son's schedule yet already. Yes, we're going to ask you to send those schedules in. I'll get to that at a later slide. Jeff, the student to teacher ratio, right now we are planning on it's going to be about overall probably around 5 to 1, that we'll have 12 staff people at the Fox building. At the Steinberg building. There'll be about 60 kids there on any given day, and there'll be 3 or 4 staff at the Chesterfield building, where there will be about 15 to 20 kids on any given day. So let me get to that next slide here. So here's a couple of things, and I'm going to share a different screen with you shortly. So we already talked about Pick My Kid. I don't have the information to share with you yet, but we will be sending out some information. We're going to ask you to download the app, and I'm sure there'll be a way to connect to our center, and you'll have to figure out which center you are at. And so instructions will be coming out on that, but please be on the lookout for that. We have scheduled some technology tests to make sure that we have, that we do have a secure Wi-Fi network that was created especially for this program. There will be nobody else on this network other than these kids in this program. We have invested some money in expanding our bandwidth to make sure that we can accommodate this. And so we're going to ask you to come and bring the device that your child will be using. As many of you probably know, the first time that you connect to a network, you're required to enter a password, and then it will remember that password if you tell your device to remember that password. And so we're hoping that these visits will sort of get that particular step out of the way in advance. We're going to be sending out probably tomorrow a link to a Sign Up Genius, and we're asking you to choose a 15-minute time block. At the days and times are listed here. If those don't work for you, not to worry. We could probably, worst comes to worst, we'll figure it out on Monday morning. You know, we just wanted to avoid having to connect 60 kids Monday morning. But certainly, you know, if there's another time that works for a staff, we can talk about that on a case-by-case basis. Last, we're going to have a Google form, and I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can share a different screen to show you what this Google form is going to look like. We're going to ask you, and this will show you exactly how this form will look. We're going to ask you to complete this every week. You're going to put in your child's first and last name, choose their grade, it's a drop-down, choose the site, also a drop-down, choose the days of the week that they are attending, and you can, Amy Newman, and, email, phone number. The next screen. So here's the really what I think Rachel was asking earlier about the schedule. This is where we're going to ask you in advance to provide your child's schedule. If you have it for your teacher, we are hopeful and expecting that these will be the same from week to week, but not 100% sure. So we'll start that out. So we're going to say that on as you can see here in the examples, I don't need to type them in, that from Monday, so I would say that we want to know their synchronous learning schedule. That means when they're expected to be available. They may not necessarily be connected at that time, but when they're expected to be available. So we'll do this by the day. So you don't have to write Monday, but this would be 9 to 9:55 and 1 to 1:55 using Schoology and your username and password. And then also on Monday, there's a Zoom meeting. And so enter that on each day of the week. Anything else you would like us to know about your child's schoolwork this week? And then one more page. And then this is where the COVID exposure questions will be asked for now. Those will eventually be incorporated into the Pick My Kid app, but for now they're going to be here, just really talking about exposure to people with COVID. I'm going to stop sharing now and go back to the slideshow. Whoops. Actually, the last slide just says questions, so I don't need to show you the word questions. I could just ask if you have any questions. So I'm going to go here. Yes, Katie, why don't we can reach out. I think Kale is at the Creve Coeur facility. Is that correct? Wherever. We'll reach out with you and see if we can find another time. So I know that there are a number of Pattonville kids. I don't know if Kale is a Pattonville child. They're not starting until the 31st. So we have some time to figure that out. 5-to-1 ratio, does that mean per grade? So there's going to be, we have, as I alluded to, and as you've met earlier today, there are full-time staff people here. There are going to be 6 of them, 3 at each, or 2 to 3 at Fox, and then 3 or 4 over at Steinberg. And they will be floating around and be where they need. So for example, if there's a room of 12 kids, and 7 of them are done and are going to go to recess. The 2 staff people that were in there with those 12 kids will take them and go recess, and perhaps the full-time staff will supervise the other kids until they're done. It's overall, certainly we're going to be much heavier with the younger kids. We recognize they're going to need more help than the older kids. So definitely we'll be staff heavy there. Art and education building drop off. Yes, that is correct. There are no certified teachers that are part of our program that I'm aware of. Oh, Chats.
I'm kind of a certified teacher. I still hold I have a teacher certificate from the state of Texas, and I did teach before, but I am currently not certified in the state of Missouri, although I have been in the past.
And I know there are some other staff people who are, at least one who already has a master's and is going back for his teaching certificate. But honestly, most of them are not professional teachers. We look at ourselves really as facilitators of learning, and it's the teacher's job to teach, and it's our job to make sure the kids are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be, working on we'll be checking on them. Rachel, right, our staff will be hands-on, especially with the younger kids, and making sure that they're engaged and that they're not, wandering around from their desks, and that our staff are helping them and checking to know what assignments they might have, those sorts of things. Emily, I will get back in 1 second about the aftercare. Julie, yes. I mean, I think that is the goal of our staff, is to make sure that the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We do have some security settings on this internet so that kids aren't able to get to inappropriate websites. I don't know that they'll be able to get to games or things like that. Certainly if you have a school, I know that Parkway is issuing Chromebooks, for example, and that those things are locked down pretty tight. But that if you're bringing your own personal, iPad or something that may be, that has some app downloaded to it, that's probably not something that we're going to be able to prevent the child, but we'll certainly be looking for that kind of thing and making sure that when a child is looking at a screen, that there is another person or words on the others, and not some sort of cartoon people having a food fight or something like that. Good, Ledoux locked down all the iPads. That's great. So the aftercare program, Emily, thanks for asking about that. That really is much more enrichment based. Those kids are going to be having art projects and cooking projects and going to the gym. We'll be going to the pool probably once or twice a week as well, and we'll send you information about that and what those days are. And those kids are really good. Normally our after school program is kind of a mixture between structure and free play, right? The kids who've been in school all day, and we want them to have some downtime to play games. We also have our staff there to help and make sure that they're doing their homework. These kids are really the same. It's a different kind of school. We get it. And how much time they're really spending in a screen, in school remains to be seen, but it's a chance for them to sort of decompress and just do things that are fun and not school based. And that's what we do every year. If you didn't sign up for after, can you add it if you have a conflict? So space permitting, I think we have allowed drop-ins for aftercare. Connor, Jess, I'll let you guys chime in on that one. Is that something that we do?
We've provided drop-ins.
Okay. Yeah, so space permitting. And certainly, you know, we need the more advanced notice, the better for that. So will cohorts be maintained in aftercare? That is, I would say, in all honesty, Julie, um, ish, I guess is my best answer. You know, I have, you know, the numbers are still coming in terms of the number of kids that we're serving. It's definitely a smaller number of kids, as you might well imagine. At our, the Creve Coeur facility, the highest, I think, daily total is 60 kids, or 57 kids, I should say, for the core day. But for the post care, it's in the 20s. And so, you know, we unfortunately can't sort of continue to have our 9 part-time staff people working with 20 kids. So the kids will still be divided. There will be cohorts. It's not going to be just one conglomerate of kids, but it will likely be some of the same kids that your child is with during the day, and probably some other kids as well. You know, we have been, for better or for worse, had a lot of experience over the course of this summer with programming and making sure that kids are being as safe as possible as it relates to COVID and the protocols in place. They are certainly not foolproof. But one of the things that I would say, at least in the beginning of the summer, that we weren't doing as consistently as we will be doing now is the mask wearing. Right? You know, obviously that has those recommendations have evolved, both on who should be wearing a mask, when they should be wearing a mask, that sort of a thing. You know, we do want to still get the kids in large spaces, either inside in our gymnasium or outside as much as possible. You know, thankfully we live in a climate that hopefully, at least through this first quarter, will allow us to do that on a regular basis. And so that we, you know, we had a number of tents outside that we're still going to be keeping in place so that kids, if it is really sunny, can have that shade, or can sort of be, as we like to call it, sort of physically distant from other groups of kids. Somebody asked a question here about whether the plan if somebody has COVID. So I neglected, and I will be sending this out tomorrow as well, is we have a whole series of COVID protocols that we want to share with you. And I apologize for not getting them to you in advance, but we will share that with you. And it talks a little bit about this. Our experience has been that it really is something that is done on a case-by-case basis. And I'll give you an example of our early childhood center. Earlier this summer, one of our early childhood teachers started not feeling well, got tested, and turns out that she had COVID. But we didn't have to close the center at all, because as it turns out, she was on vacation the few days before she started getting symptomatics. And in our consultation with the County Department of Health, they advised that she really didn't expose any of the kids because she didn't start feeling well until afterwards. On the flip side, there was another teacher who was exhibiting COVID symptoms. We ended up closing that particular classroom for 3 days while we awaited a test. She got tested. Turns out she didn't have COVID. And so everybody was brought back. So it really is kind of a case-by-case basis. And we have a great relationship with a number of epidemiologists in St. Louis, including somebody who works at the St. Louis County Department of Health, whose role is to consult with schools and early childhood centers as it relates to COVID. That person has been an invaluable resource to us and is a J member. So we feel very fortunate to be able to consult with such great experts.
There was.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there was a question about drop-off times that I think we missed.
So drop-off times, the program begins at 7:30. We're going to ask people to drop off between 7:30 and 8. At this point, we aren't assigning any particular drop-off times, but we will have staff out at Carpool between 7:30 and 8 a.m. Can I share the breakdown of the kids? Sure, I can share that. We're still waiting. This is a plug. If you haven't yet gone and completed the registration online, I ask you to do that. So we're still waiting for people to do that. I'm also still stalling a little bit as I open up this spreadsheet and sort it by site and by grade. So at the Creve Coeur facility in first grade, I think our highest daily total is 11 or 12, somewhere in that neighborhood. In kindergarten, our highest daily total is 12. So our biggest cohort is second graders at the Creve Coeur facility. I think there's about 20 of them on any given day. Those kids are going to be in that 24-person room. All the other rooms have anywhere between 8 and 18, and so we're going to put the kindergartners actually in the room that holds 18 kids so that they can spread out, again, thinking that they're probably not going to be in front of a screen for 6 hours a day. It's been a long time since I had a kindergartner, but my nephew is a kindergartner, and talking with my brother-in-law, I know it's a big challenge for those kids to keep them in front of a screen for that long. So we will definitely be having other activities in that space for them and not have to necessarily take them out to the gym or to outside whenever they have a 15-minute break or so. If kids are socially distanced at tables, can they take a break from masks? So we will definitely have mask breaks. I would say that we're going to ask that even when they are 6 feet away from other kids inside, that they are wearing masks. When we go to the gym, and there may be times when they're running around and they're going to be more than 6, at least 10, 12 feet away, those are the times we're going to give mask breaks. But that 6 to 8 foot range is honestly a little close for comfort for us, and so we're going to have kids wearing masks during those times. I'm not sure I did know that, Scott, so about Ladue and have that live Zoom block time. So we'll see how that goes, and certainly we can work with you with your families on if you somehow go beyond 3:30. 12 kindergarten kiddos, that's in Creve Coeur. That's in Creve Coeur. Right now, there are, for whatever reason, and maybe it was, I don't know, Rockwood sort of pulling the plug late or something, but there are only 16 kids on any given day out at the Chesterfield facility. So those kids will really be able to spread out and into our spaces and don't have to worry about sort of the large cohorts. Yes, we will have assigned staff to the age groups, but we're still in process of doing that. We're doing some staff training this week and on Sunday. So I don't have that information right now, but we can definitely share that information once we have it. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you for trusting us with your children. Thank you for keeping them at home if they're not feeling well. Thank you for your responsiveness to all of the things. I know this has all been really last minute. It's been last minute for us. It's been last minute for you too. I get that. And so we appreciate your timely responses, and we appreciate your patience as we work as quickly as possible to pull all of this together. Yes, we still do have some spaces in some age groups. Obviously, there's plenty of space out in Chesterfield, less so in Creve Coeur. So have them go to our website and fill out not the application necessarily. They want to fill out the inquiry form and send that in, and we'll be super responsive and get that back to them, and hopefully get them signed up when school starts on Monday. As I think we said it sort of as a footnote at the bottom of the flyer, but, should this continue beyond mid-October, we will certainly extend the program as well. My guess, this is just a guess, is that many schools might be going back to the hybrid version for this second quarter. Hopefully the conditions in St. Louis will allow for that. And that program is going to, honestly, it would look very different. I was really super worried that we were going to have some school districts that were 100% virtual and some that were hybrid, and how are we going to schedule for that? Thankfully, that's not the case, but my guess is that the program next semester or next quarter, I should say, will look a lot more like vacation days, more like aftercare, where the kids don't have any synchronous or maybe even asynchronous time on the days that they're not in school, and those will really be more active, but that will come down the road. Food restrictions, if you bring lunch, we ask that you please do not send anything with nuts. There's no sharing. But there are certainly kids with nut allergies. So out of respect for them, we ask not to bring nuts. If your child doesn't start until the 31st, do not send her. She will be super bored next week. And if we haven't already, we will definitely prorate for that. Unfortunately, Ashley, we at this point are not allowing sort of a partial day lunch option. I know obviously that's something that schools do, right? You don't have to buy every day. You can pick and choose which days. And I was certainly, there were certain days where my kids wanted to buy and others that they didn't. As you can imagine, that's not really our core business. And so, in order to make this as easy as possible on our kitchen, is to just, you have to buy the lunches every day.
We also missed one, Craig, about Oasis.
Oh, right. So I actually just got an email from the Oasis people shortly before this meeting, and I haven't fully read it yet. We are going to be connecting you all with them. They do, if you haven't looked, I would encourage you to Google them. What they do through schools is do reading and literacy tutoring for kids. I believe it's in kindergarten through third grade. We asked them to give us a week or two to really see what the schedules were like and to understand, when your kids would be free for a half an hour block is what they typically do. for that type of tutoring. So once we get settled in with our program, we will definitely send information out about the OASIS program. Well, thank you again for joining us, and I see some of the kiddos there, and I hope you guys had fun. We're looking forward to seeing you. It's going to be a whole different kind of school, but it's going to be great, and we can't wait to see you guys. I know many of you were with us over the course of the summer, and we miss you already this week, and can't wait to see you back next week. So. Thanks again for joining us. If you want to email, if you have any individualized questions, you can call, reach out to Jess for Chesterfield, reach out to Connor for Creve Coeur. Normally, I would say you can reach out to me, but tomorrow and Friday, I'm taking my oldest child to college. God help us all and see how that works. But that's a whole different problem, and someone else is dealing with that. So I'll be out of the loop for the next couple of days, but Jess and Connor, or Chotz and Alex, will be able to help you. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you either on Monday the 24th or Monday the 31st.